Hey, welcome to your service learning orientation. I'm excited to share with you over the next little bit what service learning is, where you can serve, what paperwork I need. I know, the unfun, the unsexy stuff, yet the necessary stuff, and some of the cool benefits you can gain from service learning. I'm Dawn Rhodes. I'm the Service Learning Program Coordinator here at Mesa Community College, and I'm excited to take you on this journey to walk through what you get to do. So let me first open up. This is our department website. I'll refer back to it in our orientation, yet it is a great tool to utilize. So www.mesacc.edu/getengaged, or you can do this longer URL that you see here. So for the point of order, I've already opened up some of my tabs. One of the first ones I'm going to actually show you is if I scroll down here to the forms, because the forms is actually going to walk us through some stuff that I think will be, helpful for you. And I'll use it as my template through the orientation. So I'm going to just pop over the service sites to the forms, and what I clicked on was the short-term placement packet. So I clicked on this link, and like I said, I already have it open for the sake of this orientation. Let me scroll up. Awesome. Okay, so this is the paperwork we're going to walk through, and then we're going to talk about service learning too, okay? So the first handout is just a handout I put together to give you instructions on how I want this paperwork submitted to me. I would prefer that you email it to the servicelearning@mesacc.edu email address. Okay? Really important that you do this on the subject line. I need to know what course, what section number, and who your instructor is, because I need to match your paperwork to your course. Wouldn't it be important that they get together so that you get your grade? Yes or yes? Yeah, and so that's why I request that you put the subject line that information. If not, then I'm going to have to say, hey, what course is this if I'm not able to figure it out? So save you and I time, please follow that. And also, I would prefer that these documents be sent to me by way of PDF. They're just easier, they're cleaner, they're cut, more organized. So if you can, please send them to me as PDFs. I will accept JPEGs, yet that is just, they're not always clear. They're a little bit harder to see. So again, my preference is PDFs. And it gives you some tools on how you can get that done. So let's scroll down to this next form. This is our department's contact information. And some of the links that I'm going to refer to here are, on, that we'll get to in the orientation. Okay? So you're probably thinking, what is this service learning? Why is my instructor incorporating it? What do I have to get out of it? Well, service learning is not just an assignment that your instructor has. We actually have it in every academic discipline here at Mesa Community College. It's in the K-12 through the universities, both locally, nationally, and internationally. Because what's the best way most students learn? Hopefully you said by doing or hands-on, because that is the best way most people learn, by doing, by gaining that hands-on experience. Our definition at Mesa Community College of service learning is that it's a teaching and learning method that combines meaningful service to the community with academic instruction. What does that really mean? Well, you are going out, it's not volunteerism, even though you are going out to an agency and serving, yet and not being paid, yet it's not volunteerism because it's tied to your course curriculum. Because do you get paid to take your math test or write your English papers? No. And so this is just another way of doing an assignment. And hopefully you thank your instructor for this opportunity, because it's your chance to do primary research out in the community tied to the subject that your instructor is teaching you. Because again, the best way most people learn is by doing. Okay, some of the focus areas of service learning: critical thinking and problem solving. Do you think it's important that you know how to think critically and solve problems? Values clarification. What do you value? What does society value? Career exploration. I really like this one because this is your chance to explore a career. Do I really want to be, a teacher or work in this field? And you never know who you're going to meet. May land you a full or part-time job. A lot of our students end up with full or part-time jobs as a result of their service learning. Pretty cool. Social and personal development, that's probably my favorite because you as the individual will change because you are giving service. You're giving of yourself. And then civic and community engagement. That's actually why higher education was founded. Not to create a widget maker or a cell phone maker or whatever, a lot of different industries. Not to say that those are bad. Yet, higher education was founded to create an engaged and enlightened citizen. So that's a quick and dirty overview of service learning. What you put into this experience, though, is what you'll get out of it. And let's see, and since I say that, let's just jump down here. Why would I want to participate in service learning? I think this box really is just a snapshot of the benefits you can gain from service learning. As you scan that list, which ones resonate to you? Brightening your future? Strengthening your resume? Because you can use this as real life experience. You can put it on your resume. Let's say you're interviewing for a job and they said, tell us about a time when you worked with individuals who are diverse. Or tell us of a time when you found a need in the community and you met that need. They're probably not going to ask you, what grade did you get on your last math test? So again, look at those benefits. Which ones stand out to you? What you put into this is what you'll get out of it. The box to the left of it is the telephone protocol. I put this in the paperwork as a guide to help you if you have to call your agency. And I probably didn't say this. Community partner, agency, site, school. Basically, that's the location you're going to do your service at. I'm going to list a bunch, or I'm going to show you the service opportunities, and I may use that term interchangeably. So I just need you to understand location, site, agency, community partner, school, whatever, that's the location you're doing your service at, and it must be an approved community partner. Not all of your sites will you call. Some of them you'll just do an online form. Yet I just give you this guide to help you if you need to call your agency. Really important that you let them know you're an MCC student doing this for a college experience. Hi, I'm Dawn. I am in Anna McWhorter's critical reading class and I get to do 10 hours of service. Do you have an opportunity for me? Versus, hi, this is Dawn. I have to do 10 hours of service. Can you just get me in? Which one would you want to be on the receiving end of? The first or the second? Hopefully you said the first. And if you don't want to be put in the agency's corridor community service program, don't call like the second one because we've had students that happened before. Okay, so let them know this is part of your class. And we're going to again talk about agencies soon. I'm just kind of walking through the paperwork to get this out of the way. Short-term validation form. I'm going to actually come back to this. I'm going to go down to this last form, which is 2 pages. This assumption of risk and release of liability. You are going to turn this form into me before you start your service. So before you start your service, you are going to turn this form into me. The first line, you are going to type your name or print, handwrite, whatever, just make sure it's neat. And then the second line is you are going to put the agency you're serving at. I don't want to see MCC unless you're serving at MCC, and then I want to see MCC Engagement Center, for instance. So for this time, I'm just going to put ABC Agency. That's really not an agency in the database yet. I'm just doing that for the orientation, okay? Name, agency. I've already filled in the 3rd and 4th line with the dates of this semester. It's the very first date of the semester, the very last day of the semester. I do that for your sanity as well as my sanity. You will read this and you need to sign it and date it. This one takes no one else's signature unless you're under 18, and then a parent or legal guardian must sign it. It is important that you know that you are liable and responsible for things. One of the things that we ask is that you're never left alone with children or vulnerable populations. And no, your service doesn't have to relate or connect or have children-related experience. Just some of my examples, they're pretty easy to share when they have the kids because I have a lot more stories to share about them, okay? Yet again, should never be left alone with children or vulnerable populations. So for instance, say you're serving at the Boys and Girls Club and Mrs. Smith says, hey, John, you're doing a great job with these kids, coordinating and playing basketball, whatever it is. I need to run to the restroom. I'll be right back. What would you say? Thanks for trusting me with these kids. I need you to stay here. I need you to get another staff member. I need you to take the kids with you or just plain hold it. You don't want to be left alone with children or vulnerable populations. We also ask you to think safety for yourself as well as the safety of those you're working with. So let's say you signed up and the agency was like, oh my gosh, I really need this tree limb cut down because it's fallen into the path where our clients and customers need to walk up and down to the entrance of our agency. And they hand you a chainsaw. And if you've never used a chainsaw before, that's probably not the time to start using a chainsaw. And what I'd recommend at that point, you'd say, hey, Mr. Joe, I appreciate that you trust me with that chainsaw, yet I don't feel comfortable doing that. If you can get someone else to run the chainsaw, I'm totally cool to help you move the chopped up limbs, whatever. Again, thinking safety for yourself as well as the safety of those you're working with. I need this form, this assumption of risk and release of liability completed with your name, the agency that you're going to serve at, saying they've agreed to accept you before you start your service. So that way I know where you're serving at. So before you start your service, you do what? Turn this form in. Yes. And how do you turn it in? To the email that I mentioned above as a PDF. Okay, so then now how do you document your hours and get it validated? This form you're going to turn in at the end of your service. So when you've completed your hours, and this form or set of forms, this packet is designed for those classes where the instructor is incorporating service learning, and typically you have 10 hours or less. So again, I mentioned earlier Anna McWhorter's critical reading class. They get to do 10 hours of service tied to a topic that they're passionate about or interested in, because then they're going to critically read articles and have discussions tied to that service. So 10 hours or less is using this form. Please make sure as you complete, before you turn these forms in, complete all this top header. Your name, student ID, MEID. So student ID is the 8-digit number. The MEID is the letters and numbers. Please don't be lazy. Please look those up, because if you don't, it's going to delay me in processing the paperwork. Okay, so make sure you're filling in all of that information. And then this photo release here, this is optional. We would love to capture our students' photos. We have a spot on our website too to capture your reflections in your photos. So if we go to use your photo, if you have this sign, then we can do that. Cool? Okay, so then this last part is where you're documenting when you were there and what you did, the dates of service. So if you served today's date, and let's say you completed 3 hours, and then what you did. I'm just going to type packed food, okay? And then for the sake of it, I'm just putting today's, I'll just put today's date, 9/23/20. I forgot a 0/20/20. And then your supervisor's initials. You can actually, depending on if you do it virtual or not, you can skip this if you're in person. It would be awesome if you actually get them to initial it. Okay, because then at the end they're going to validate it. So we'll go back. You say you have 10 hours. So you can do like a 3, so that's 6. And let's say you go in and do a 4-hour shift, right? Or maybe you do 2 5-hour shifts. Whatever your course is asking you to do, most likely you're not going to be able to do a 1 10-hour shift. Yet you would just list that and describe that. When you are done with your service, you will have your supervisor evaluate you. It's really important you do this for 2 reasons. 1, so you add closure to your service. What I mean by that is, hey, Mr. Joe, I really enjoyed serving at your organization. Can you take a few minutes to evaluate me? He now knows I'm no longer coming back and that I've done my service. Because if I just stop showing up and he'd be like, where's Dawn? Is she okay? You want to make sure you're adding that professionalism and adding that closure. The second reason why we do this is that you see how well you're doing or areas that you may need to improve upon. It's a pretty quick, short evaluation. And then your supervisor is going to sign off, basically saying, yes, Susie did these hours. This is how I evaluated her. Okay, so really important that you get this paperwork submitted. Let me just say, because some of you will serve with community partners that you never step foot in their door. Some of you, what you could do is you could send them this form. They complete and sign it and return the completed and signed by way of email or fax to you. Some of you may do a lot of this communication by way of email. So if that's the case, in this supervisor's thing, let's say you would put then C attached, right? And then you'll attach that email correspondence that shows the evaluation as well as the documentation saying, yes, she completed XYZ hours, 10, 15, because 10 is just the minimum. You can do more than that because one of the benefits is we make a certificate that says where you served, how many hours you served, and then my boss signs it. Really cool thing. Going back to that interview example I gave, hey, what, like the experience of when the question was, like, when have you worked with diverse individuals? Well, in my reading class at Mesa Community College, I served at this agency doing this thing, and this is how I interacted with the individuals. Okay, and look, I have a certificate to document it, and look, this is actually too how my supervisor evaluated me. So this form gets turned in at the end, and I need this form at the end. So recap, the assumption of risk gets turned in before you start your service, and then this contact log at the end of your service. And please email it to this email address and include the course information in the subject line. So I'm matching your paperwork to your course. So let's talk about, so again, I found this form off the forms page on our website. So let's talk about the service opportunities, because you must serve an approved community partner. I'm actually going to jump. I'm going to walk through the database in a minute. I just thought about two other links I wanted to show you. And so I'm going to actually open into a new tab, this events and opportunities. To the MCC Serves, I'll click here. MCC Serves lists events where community partners need help. So one-time events. So Boulder Mountain Therapy has this workday event. And we update this as soon as we get posts and requests from agencies. So on the 17th, they're doing from 8 to noon a cleanup. Okay, so if that fits your course criteria, because again, I didn't think I said this actually, when you set up your service, it must first and foremost meet your course objectives. Second, something you're comfortable and able to do. And third, meets the needs of the agency. So going back to the critical reading course, it is to do 10 hours of service tied to a subject matter you're passionate about, because then you're going to critically read articles tied to that subject matter. Okay, so obviously this is just 4 hours. That wouldn't meet your needs, because I recommend that you do your service at the same site. Yet, maybe if you did this cleanup, then they can find something you can do for another 6 hours. Because I bet they can, because they have a lot of opportunities for our students. That's just one example through MCC Serves. So here I'm going to actually go to the virtual volunteer opportunities, which we are adding to all the time. And this is agencies who have said, hey, yeah, we have a virtual opportunity for your students. Some may have a time requirement, meaning I need X number of hours, and some may need like no, necessarily commitment. So I just clicked on the Special Olympics ones for kicks and giggles, that you can read what opportunities, and it looks like they have a link that you would go to. So if you're not wanting to volunteer in person, then there are virtual opportunities. And like I said, these get updated all the time. So that is a couple other links besides now what I'm going to walk through is our service sites database. Cool. So where I went to the service sites database is right here from our home page. So this, hopefully you can see this reddish box. And if you forget any of the instructions of what I'm walking through, they're all down, on this page. So I'm going to click this blue Access the Service Sites database because you're going to find the agency that you're going to do your service at. Everyone's going to sign in as a guest. You're going to sign in as a guest. So I'm going to click it. So you will find the agency you're going to serve at. Before you give me the assumption of risk and release liability, you better have asked if they actually can take you, because not all the agencies will have an opportunity for you. Okay, so don't fill in that form and give it to me for an agency and then they're like, we don't have an opportunity. You need to have confirmed that they can actually take you. So this agency partners, I'm going to click this Perform Search Now button. And this is just a laundry list of the active 76 partners. These are not typically like schools. It's all non-schools. This is an alphabetical list. It's a laundry list. I don't necessarily recommend it unless you have absolutely no clue where you're going to serve at. Might be a good thing to look at. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this return to search. The school-based partners. Every school, and actually every community partner, is as different as their placement process as you and I are different. Probably because you're going to do 10 hours or less, you may not necessarily have, the schools may not necessarily be where you're going to do your service. However, sometimes schools have different events, or you may, maybe know a teacher at a school and they're like, hey, I need my bulletin board created. Do you have schools to do that? Or I need all of these things cut out and laminated, or I don't know, a craft made. I'm just giving you, different examples. So the key though is you need to click on the school district that school resides in and follow their placement process. Okay. Depending on what they're asking you to do, maybe you can shoot me an email to let me know if some of this stuff's required. However, pretty much my answer is going to be yes. So follow these instructions on the different school districts. If you're not sure, do ask and I can let you know what you need to do. Okay, so this is Mesa Public Schools. They have an additional form that you need to complete. If you're going to do 30 hours or less in a semester, you don't need to be fingerprinted. If you're going to, 60 hours or less, you don't need to be fingerprinted. 61 or more, you do need a fingerprint clearance card. Again, we're talking short-term placements, so not usually what you would be, need that. So there's our school districts, and as it says, some of the school districts have limited placements, and some of them do end up getting full and not have opportunities. So that's all I want to really show you on the schools. Then this by category, you'll click Perform Search Now, and it pulls up the like a whole bunch of agencies. What you'll do is actually put a Create Find. So create Find, and then let's say you want to find out what's in the zip code of where you live, where you work, because you're not sure what's around you. So I'm going to put in the zip code of the Southern and Dobson campus, 85202. Because this is an application on the web, really important, hopefully you're paying attention, I'm not able to just hit enter. I actually have to come over here and hit continue. Continue. And then it found 12 opportunities in the zip code of 85202. You're going to scroll and see if any of these work for you. Oh, how cool. MCC's Rose Garden. That might totally work for you depending on what they're doing and when they need help. Because as it says, pruning, taking pictures, maybe helping with grant writing. So if you're a strong writer, how cool. So there's an opportunity there. So I'm just scrolling some of the different MCCs. The theater, they're doing some stuff, even though it's not in person. They have opportunities for you that might be, you know, virtual as well. Okay, so that's one way of searching it. Create find. Again, I click that create find because I'm going to show you another way. Let's say maybe I'm going to the keywords tab. Let's say you're interested in homelessness. So I'm going to click that, homelessness, and do I hit enter? Nope, I need to come over here and click continue. And then it found 15 agencies that have the opportunity with homelessness. Really important too that when you do any of your finds that you look to make sure it says available. If it says closed, then you'll need to shoot me an email and I'll tell you why it's closed and if it's possible that it can be reopened. And let's say you really, really want to serve in an agency that's not listed here. You can work to add it, yet it could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years to add it. So you really have to decide if it's worth this 10-hour experience to add it. So that's the homelessness one. Again, it shows you the description, service opportunities, if there's requirements. And so you need to see if it is something you want to, you know, do. Another one is you can actually search an agency's name. So I'm going to put boy, because we already mentioned Boys and Girls Club, and I'm going to hit continue. Boyce Thompson Arboretum, that's not boy. Well, you remember I just did BOY in my search, because sometimes in a data search, less is more. However, you might be like, oh, that sounds like really neat opportunities. Okay, well, that was the requirements, non-description. There we go. Boys Hope, Girls Hope. Oh, Boys and Girls Club, what do they have? So that is a few ways to use the database. Again, you must serve an approved community partner. You must submit your paperwork, and then we'll issue a certificate. Oh, and you must follow their placement process. So let me just log out here, and I'll show you a few other things just to wrap up. Is our department's website. These buckets here, they change all the time. So I encourage you to come look, see if there's something new. There are a lot of scholarships that are available to you as a student for your service. So we have a few. We're not the scholarship office. We particularly promote the MCC Service Scholarship. And then like getting engaged, we have an engagement team. We have students doing projects around voter education and awareness, different things. So I highly encourage you to come look through this, check it out. So to recap the paperwork, is you are going to turn in your assumption of risk and release of liability after you have found the agency that you're going to serve at and they've agreed to accept you. This gets turned in before you start your service. Then you're going to do your hours, and then you're going to turn in by your instructor's due date this confirmation form and agreement of conduct. Okay. All of this is going to be emailed to our Service Learning email account. Again, please include this in your subject line. If you need to get a hold of any of us as staff, you can come down here to Staff and Contacts, and this is where you would find our contact information. As I mentioned, I am Dawn Rhodes. I am the Service Learning Program Coordinator, and I wish you the best through this experience. I'm excited to see what you do, because what you put into this experience is what you will get out of it. So if you want it to be a boring, dumb, stupid assignment that you just get done, it will be that. Yet if you're like, I want to make a difference in my life and others' lives, it can be just that. What you put into it is what you'll get out of it. So with that, come get engaged in our office. I'm excited to see what you do in service learning. It is a neat opportunity for you. There is lots of need and lots of experiences that can come and benefits that can come from this experience. Have a great day, and I look forward to getting your paperwork.